Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Pit Talk Point Pins with your host, Gunny G, where service members help service members, period. Follow, like, subscribe everywhere you get your podcast and on most social media platforms. Let us know how we're doing. Any criticism is good criticism. Let's get into it. We got a special guest. I'll let him introduce himself first. I want to say thank you for your service. We appreciate it very much. Any Marine previous to me, his lineage and his tradition it's amazing. The pleasure is all mine to get you on the podcast and learn from you, experience, adversity, resilience, all that good stuff. But go ahead, the floor is yours. Go ahead and let them know where you're from, duty stations, operations, family, applicable, anything that's applicable to like a professional bio. Hit it.
Sure, no worries. My name is Brandon James Petree. I go by my middle name, James. Joined the Marine Corps back in 2009 in March. Did about 9 years, 22 days, and 12 hours. 59 if you want to call it what it was, right? Because the checkout, right? Don't want to pay me for that one more minute. When I first got in, I went through the electronics, the Bravo 6 code, whatever it was, and I went through the basic electronics course to become a tactical data systems administrator. After I did that, went through 29 Palms, went through the stumps, had fun out there, Adobe Road, Joshua Tree, all that, And then I was like, okay, I want to go anywhere in the world but California because that's where I'm from. So I was born and raised in California. I didn't want to go back to California. No offense. I love it's a beautiful place. It doesn't align with me much. So I decided to leave there. And I said, don't put me here. I want to get away from here because I'm from Sacramento and it's one of the dirtiest places in California, probably second to Modesto or Stockton. It's very bad. Really high in crime, high in gangs. I was run away from gangs most of my life. Trying not to get sucked into the Bloods, the Crips, the Surdanos, the Scraps, all those different gangs. So when I left, I was like, okay, I don't want to be in California. Send me anywhere. I was hoping to go to Okeechobee, send me anywhere but here, right? So I got stationed in North Carolina. I was out there at Cherry Point with MTAX 28 for 3 years and some change. We did a pump to Afghanistan in 2011. We assisted in the operation of Operation Neptune Spear. We were out there for Operation Enduring Freedom, of course, but we did, this is where I got my muck from, that bad boy right there, for assisting in that as a tertiary unit for backup support. And for those who don't know, Operation Neptune Spear was about catching Osama bin Laden. And then after that, we came back, finished out. I tried to stay in my MOS, wouldn't let me. It was 6 boat spaces and 13 packages. At that time, I didn't really care about the PFT and CFT. I wanted to be smart in my MOS. I was all about job proficiency. So the green side killed me. So I had to pick something else. So first I put in a recon package with my buddy Will, and I was married at the time to a supply sergeant. She was like, well, you're going to be married all the time. I was I just got promoted to corporal. She's like, you're going to be deployed all the time. I can't, I don't know if I can do this. And I said, okay, cool. Well, I'll put in another package. I started putting in a counter intel package. I went all the way up to about to sit the board. And she's like, I talked to a buddy of mine. He was counter intel, and he said you'll be deployed all the time. So I got pulled out of that. So I was like, screw it. I'm getting money at this point. So I looked at it. I was like, what's left? Weather, I'll do it. I don't care. 40 grand. Let's go. I ended up having a really good time. Went to Keesler Air Force Base down in Biloxi, Mississippi. I was a armor bearer for a pastor for 9 months. So when I wasn't at school, I was literally at church or with him, with his family, overnight security, all kinds of crazy stuff for free. I did it for the Lord, and I didn't even realize what was happening at the time. Go ahead. Go. Yes, go. Stay at home dad, everybody. That's the other thing about me.
That's good.
Yes. So I went and did that. And then I finally finished the course. Then they sent me to Yuma, Arizona. So it's WTI 24/7. I assisted in every single WTI from 2013 until I got out. We did one pump to Bahrain, and we got to play around, Iraq and Syria and all that area in there. And we did a lot of forecasting for a lot of area that had no climatological data, and somehow I was able to pretty much accurate. I'm starting to believe things about the models that we were using, more like propagation, more like maybe something else. We could talk about that. But I was able to get up there with a really high accuracy, I set up a station that had been there for 2 years, and there was zero SOP, no publications, nothing. So I had to build everything from scratch while I'm doing my job for 7 months out of Bahrain, and making sure my Marines that were traveling in and out of Iraq and Kuwait were always keeping their trainings up. Like I became the Gunny, and the Gunny was basically the 7th UIC for the whole thing for all of us. So I had to step up and take roles of things that I wasn't even supposed to be doing, but I did anyways. They ended up awarding me on the back, and I'm like, no, I don't really want this, NAM. I got it, but it was for everybody else. Everybody else did the hard work. I just paved the way and I set up the structure, and it was really nice to actually make it as far as I did. While I was out there, I was on the board for staff. I would have been selected had I had not got in trouble in the schoolhouse while I was in Mississippi, which I'll talk about. It's a good story. And they sent an email back to my CONUS email, not my OCONUS, because you know damn well when you go into the gal and you look somebody up, that indent, he's forward. You tap both of those. Well, she was just some corporal at, out in Quantico, and she didn't really know no better because she probably never dealt with that in her entire life. So she just hit the one that made the most sense. Missed it, August. She sent that in August. I get home in October. I'm like, why did I not get selected? I try to do review. I try to get back up there. I try to extend. I try to do everything. Everything was canceled, denied, not let go because whenever I got in trouble in my UPB, he left it blank. And this was an old Salt Dog Infantry Mustang Lieutenant Colonel on his Twilight tour that was just the OIC of the schoolhouse just waiting for his time to retire. And he was like, he said, so, and I'll tell the story, but basically what he said was, look, because what you did, I'm not going to be so hard on you. And he wasn't hard on me at all. And he did me the hugest favor, which if I had known the UPB was blank, I could have had it removed like next month. I had no idea, but nobody told me anything. I had no, I wish if I'd have known. If older me could have went back in time and told younger me. Anyways, I got out in 18. I've been in Texas ever since. I have 3 kids. I didn't have any kids in the Marine Corps. I waited till I got out.
For you.
And I got a 6-year-old, about to be 6, about to be 4, and a 2.5. So I got 1 napping and 2 playing, but they're on their video game time. So that's where I'm at.
That's what's up, man. So so people say you're not a real Marine unless you have an NJP. Well, congratulations, right?
Facts.
Or
Big
a
facts.
divorce. You have 1 out of the 2.
2 divorce.
There it is. So you're more Marine than I am. I'm just a wannabe. So, but I'll tell you what. Thank you for your service. I appreciate that. You were already in before I was even considering going in. Right, I didn't go until 2010, and then I actually hit the fleet in 2011. So you're definitely a salt dog compared to me. So appreciate that. Let me ask you, how was your transition from the Marine Corps in 2018?
It was rough. I didn't want to get out. I didn't I didn't want to get out at all. I loved it. Man, I don't know why I'm getting emotional. I didn't want to get out at all. Not even a little bit. I loved what I did. There was no better place in the world for me because I came from a background of, like I said, running from gangs. I mean, I had a parent. She was my mom, but she wasn't there. And all of us were misfits. Like the Marine Corps is full of the people who had absolutely nothing growing up. I very rarely, and if it was, it was an officer or they're like 3 years and a sergeant because they were meritorious in boot camp because they did all that college beforehand. So they graduated Lance Cooley, made it all the way up. They were a corporal before they left their schoolhouse and a sergeant their first year, 2 years within the fleet. So like those guys, like, I don't know, I call it spoon fed, right? Creedence Clearwater Revival, right? That song, spoon fed song, but like, I never met a Marine that had a past that was either not as bad as mine or worse. So we all come from the same boat of people, and it's tough. It's really tough. And the hardest part is, give me just 1 second. He's like, I need the Xbox. I'm like, go get it. But he's got a Nintendo Switch, this kid. I would never trade this for anything. Let me tell you what, though. I go back sometimes.
I have a 17, a 14, and I have what is it? She's 3, and then a 2-year-old, and then a newborn.
God bless you.
I'm telling you, yeah.
Oh,
Please.
God bless you. It's for real, because that's a
you're
lot.
saying you're right though. I agree with you, man. I'll tell you what. I was just talking to the chaps yesterday or the day before. It was yesterday, and he was saying that the Marine Corps attracts a certain type of individual, and it's not individuals that come. You're right. They don't come from having everything. Having the money, having the pleasures of life like that. It's people that don't have nothing, right? I remember growing up. Sure, I had my mom and dad, but they were both working, trying to make ends meet. I remember cups. We were having plastic cups, big gulps, them 7-Up big gulps. Those were our cups
Top
for a
ramen,
while.
that's it.
You know what I'm saying? Like those were our cups for a while until, they were actually in a job that could afford actual cups. And it was just something to think about. I agree with you, man. I'll tell you what, that's wild, but you didn't want to get out. What made you
No,
get
not
out?
at all. So I didn't have a choice. So in the end, right? So I get back from deployment. I'm figuring out how I got passed on the board for staff because it was my first year to be in the bone and I was in zone. So I was like, there's no way I don't get promoted. My fit reps were C's and D's, or D's and E's really. I was doing phenomenal. She would have just emailed the correct email. I tell you, there would have been because she sent out the formal, request for the RFI for, why is your UBP blank? And man, if I'd have just filled it out, it would have changed everything. I'd probably still be in. I'd still be in and everything. But I tried to get the 1 year extension. I tried to reenlist. First, I tried to do just the reenlistment because I was at 8 and I'm like, okay, I could pump to 2. Let me just try to see if they'll do like a 3 year reenlistment. And I tried it. And they told me no. So I said, okay, let me extend for 2. They said no. I said, let me extend for 1. They said no. I'm like, I don't understand this. So I actually wrote, this is where I got an REO4 on the back end. I wrote an email. I wrote an email, 5 paragraph order basically, and I sent it in I sent it to the Ockville sponsor. I sent it to my monitor. I CC'd the Sergeant Major in the Marine Corps at the time, Green. I CC'd my OIC, my everybody. And I basically explained this is where the Marine Corps is effing up. Okay. You have people that will literally give their soul to stay in and perform for you. And literally the smallest issue that no one cares to correct, which can be fixed and everything could be rerouted into an area to where, hey, this Marine can now stay in because this was a clerical issue. And by the way, hey, we need to fire her or teach her how to send correct emails if she's going to be working for the board up there at Virginia, because what she's doing is literally disingenuous and she's screwing. I probably wasn't the only one that got screwed on that. I can almost guarantee you. If there's any other Marine that was deployed at that time frame in any climate place that was asked that question, guaranteed it went home and it didn't go anywhere else. I can almost guarantee you. I mean, it just, and then I started losing hope. And then I started so I was a really bad drinker, like before I picked up sergeant, like really bad. But then like right at the end, I started drinking a lot. And you know how we like to try and see how well we can get through that front gate every time. I never got in trouble outside of that one time I got in trouble back in Mississippi, which we'll get to. But I just realized the love for the Marine Corps started going away. And then I started seeing a lot of this hand holding that was going on. And I couldn't take the hand holding, all this I needed to be conscious of people's feelings. And I'm not allowed to say, fuck you, excuse my French for that one, but like, or you're messed up, or this is messed up. I address staff NCOs and say, hey, look, there's a problem here. Let's fix it. I have a solution. I'm not coming to you with a problem. I'm telling you that there's a problem, but I have a solution with you. Like here, let's engage and let's stop this before it gets worse. And people didn't like that I was a problem solver either at the end, because I was taken away from. So we had an OIC who was a civilian, but a retired Chief One Officer 5, and he held the highest billet in that building on the flight line. This is before I went from HNHS at Yuma over to Max 1 Det Charlie. And he would come up to me and he'd be like, he said one time on a late shift, we were sitting there and he goes to walk out. He goes, hey, Sergeant Petree, you know something? I said, what, sir? He goes, you got more mentality than any of these people in this building. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, the whole aspect, like all of it, like you're all of it. All of it. Like, you just need to make sure you can get everyone else to do it too. That was the first time anyone ever tried to reach in there and be like, here's your ego. I'm not going to puff it, but you have something here. And then I went over to Max 1, and then I was begging for one more deployment. I'm like, I've been here for 6.5 years. I only did one pump. Like, this is just not correct ratio. Like, I need to go again. So they're like, all right, fine, get him out of here. So they moved me over to Max 1 Det Charlie, and I was gone in a few months. We did a couple workups, and then we were out, and I loved it. And man, yeah, no, I tried everything to stay in. I even reached out to the Naval Board of Records to see if what could be done, the highest level, right? And still nothing. It was just, so I wrote that email, man, and that was it. REO4, see you later.
Oh boy, that's crazy. 4, right? Is that what you said?
Yeah, the RE4, sorry, yeah,
That's crazy. That's crazy. Just for that email? I'm gonna tell you what.
just
Listen,
for the email.
everything happens for a reason. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be in, or whatever happened. But look at where you're at now, man, with 3 beautiful children. I'm sure, and a beautiful family. I'll tell you what. If you wouldn't have got out, would they be here? That's the question.
No,
You're right.
negative.
So I mean, there's a little bit of a like, okay, you know, if this happened for a reason, and obviously somebody's in control because the babies wouldn't appeared, because you just said you wouldn't have had kids until you got out, and that would have been a while, right?
I was never planning to. It'd be another 10 or another 6 years.
So that's I'll tell you what, there was light at that end of that tunnel. So I do say that it happened for a good reason, right? And now you're in the
Right?
greatest state in America, the most free state in America, Texas. You
I
know what
hope
I'm
it
saying?
stays this way.
Yeah. I'll tell you what,
Overstays is funny.
after you took off the uniform, I know you said transition was hard because you didn't want to get out, but how was it in the civilian life for you in transitioning from uniform, from Marine Corps lingo, isms, and all that good stuff, thoroughly indoctrinated devil dog, to now civilian life?
Man, that's the toughest question. It's not the toughest question for me to answer, but that's the toughest question to ask anybody because honestly, from what I've recognized, it's all the same. There's the disconnect, right? So the clearest way that I can, well, I shouldn't say, I have some people that be like, yeah, no, I did my 4 years and I was good to go. Yeah, dude, you did 4 years. But like those that do like two or more, like there's a big disconnect that happens because especially if you're like me and you went when you're 18, you know nothing else, right? You know your 18 years of childhood, all of a sudden you're a man, boom, sign that blank check, blank, keyword blank, and then you go off and you say, I'll do whatever you tell me to do. So whenever you're done and you leave and there's no one to tell you what to do, there's rules to set that we all know that there's, right? But you don't have anyone to report to anymore. You don't have anybody to take care of anymore. It's just you. If you're by yourself, you don't have kids, you're single like me when you get out. It may be different for those who already have purpose, like have family and kids, and or they're married and they're gonna have kids when they get out, whatever the case is, right? There's many scenarios that exist within the military of getting when they're getting out and where they lie at, right? But for me, I already had nothing. I entered with nothing and I left with obviously me, but I still had nothing. I just had, my clothes and my didn't even have a house, nothing. My clothes in my car. See you later. This is what I came with. This is what I'm leaving with. And it was tough because the getting up every day at the same time, knowing that you have somewhere to be at, to know that what you're serving is a purpose that's much greater than yourself, and to know that you're actually doing it honorably and you're doing it with the best of your ability. To have to switch that to doing it to yourself for yourself is because it's never about you. In the Marine Corps, it was never about me. It was everyone within arm's reach and those that were directly under me. Left, right, forward, backwards, above, below. That's everything within my vicinity, right? That was my responsibility. It was never just me. It was just everyone around me and how do I take care of everyone around me. So I never focused on myself. The only me time I had was eat and go to the gym and sleep. Like that's it. Right? And everything that you take care of in the morning, shower, shave, get on with your day, right? Get a haircut. Like those were the only me things I did. Everything else was for everyone else. Right? I never really had to think about me. Even as a sergeant, like it was just like it was like, okay, so now I have more responsibility, so I have more tasks that I have to complete. So it's even less time for me. And I see that sergeant's that fatal rank. Either you excel and you thrive in the adversity, or you get fat, break yourself, and you fall away. Because the responsibility requires way more of you, and I thrived in it. Right? I thrived but still I think corporal's the best rank, but I thrived being a sergeant, right? It was great. But not having that, the transition's hard. You have to make all new friends. You have to integrate into a society that has no idea what you've been through. Whether it was the breakdown of who you were as a human being when you joined the Marine Corps, what the yellow footsteps was the last footsteps that you saw before you walked into that integration room and you empty your pockets, right, to getting into getting accepted by your platoon and your SDI and your drill instructors, right? That change that occurs. Nobody understands what happens during those 13 weeks, and nobody understands how it breaks you and reshapes you. And then it sets you for me, it set me up for a very easy career. Nothing about the Marine Corps was difficult for me. It was very fluid. It was very easy because, like I said, we come from a pool of people where we've already had it really hard and we've had it really rough. And we're like, well, everybody joins the Army and the Air Force. I'm not, no. And then the Navy's like, well, seasick. I don't really like the water, vast nothing. I'd rather be a man. Let me go to the Marine Corps and let me raise my right hand and take the hardest. It's the longest boot camp. It's the hard. That's for me. It was like I never even thought about the other three. For me, it was everyone in my family was government, like 3-letter alphabetic agency: NSA, FBI, CIA, NASA, Army, Air Force, Navy, all of those, Coast Guard. No Marine, none. It'll go down in the history of my family that this is the only one that exists. I hope they don't have to, but none of them. I'm the only one. So I definitely took on the challenge for more than just it was going to be difficult, but yeah, what it leaves behind on you mentally and emotionally as a brotherhood, as a system of complete structure, you don't find it anywhere else outside. It doesn't exist. Not even a little bit. It's
That's
tough.
crazy. Everybody says the same thing, man. The biggest thing they miss is camaraderie, The brotherhood,
Yes.
the organization has good structures, good foundation. Um, uh, I couldn't agree with you more, man. I'll tell you what, if it was hard for you, I'm sure it was hard for anybody else that transitioned out. I don't think anybody's transition was successful. I know a couple, two here and there, like a couple of my buddies that did 20, got out, but they already had a plan set 4 years out. Like they knew the Marine Corps was the problem is they knew that the Marine Corps was not going to see eye to eye with them. And so they made a plan. Right. So that was, but to ask them if they still wanted to stay in, I'm sure they miss it. They miss the brotherhood. They miss the people. So I agree with you there. I'll tell you what, you talk about transition, the adversity you felt there, emotional, physical, everything, all the above. Talk about some of that adversity. Obviously, that was adversity. How were you resilient? How did you? So now you're here now. I mean, obviously, something was successful, right? Because you would have
Oh, I
been
failed
just
multiple. Yeah,
right.
I failed over and over. Yeah, I failed. Uh, yeah, I'm not like afraid to talk about it, but I just wonder if it's appropriate, right? Like, I definitely have suicide attempts, right? So my whole life I was abandoned, right? I had no dad, left when I was 3. My mother was not really a mother, she was a giver. Here's clothes, here's food, here's a roof. Figure everything out on your own. I'll teach you nothing, pretty much. And then as I learned, I taught my sisters, and as I until I joined the Marine Corps, and then they had to figure out the rest on their own, right? So like going back to nothing, it was like I was back in that same, like I said, I had nothing. There was nothing there for me to tangibly grab onto. So I was fighting endlessly for the adrenaline rush, for the esprit de corps, viciously fighting for it. And it is to be found nowhere. When I first got out, I worked on base at Camp Pendleton at the housing development for all enlisted and officers, Lincoln Military Housing at the South Gate. I was there for about 6 months because I just went through Airstreams. By the way, Airstreams 100%, go for it. If any of y'all see the ads for it, I 100%, 1000% recommend do Airstreams because that opens you up to about 6 or 7 different employment fields. It's in Tehachapi, California. They got them in Georgia. They got them in a couple other places in California. Do it, look into it, well worth it. Changed my entire life. I went into wind and I was waiting. I made a bunch of phone calls, and the only one I really cared about getting back to me was the GE one. GE had just assumed LM Wind Power, and so LM Wind Power was hiring like through the roof. So I was like, okay, cool. I'm gonna put in for them, and I'm gonna put in for these other ones, and we'll see what happens. I got all these calls back, all these interviews, and I'm like, no, I'm gonna be patient. I really want to work for GE, so that's where the real money is. And sure enough, like 6 months working at Lincoln Military Housing, get a phone call. Hey, this is the recruiter or HR for LM Wind Power GE Renewables. Wondering if you had time for an interview. And I was like, yes. And he said, excuse me. I said, yes, I'm available. Yes, sir. Because I was so excited. I was like, it's got to happen. Like if it's going to happen, if I be patient, all things come in time. If you wait for it, it'll happen. So I got the job and I traveled the country, the whole country. I'm talking west to east, all of it. 38 states, and I worked on wind turbines, and it was the greatest thing ever. I worked on the blade specific because I worked on fiberglass. I was a fiberglass composite technician. So I learned epoxy, polyester, all the different type of adhesives, all of it, right? How to grind and chamfer. So like, and they were like throwing all this like, here, hey, go to this school, go to that school. Like we're looking at your work, like you do really good work. Like let's go. Because I fell in love with just being in that job was by yourself, which was weird because I wasn't. But because I was distracted in something that takes me hours to do and grinding in the same motion, I fell into the same rhythmic pattern that I realize occurs in my everyday life in the Marine Corps. There's a rhythmic pattern. So if I know I have a specific repair and I know it's going to take me all day and I have that repair multiple times on different blades, I can get myself in a rhythm to where I just play some music and I just get after it and I don't feel that sense of being lost. So it was really, I needed to distract the living hell out of myself in order for me to get past it. But it was very tiresome. It was 6 weeks on, 1 week off. I was dating my ex-wife at the time, not my wife yet, but we were dating at the time. So then she got pregnant, and then I was like, well, I can't do this job anymore. So this is like 2 years in. I'm like, I got it, or it was a year in or so, and I get pregnant. I was like, all right, let's see how long I could do this for. Well, I missed like all of his newborn life, and she didn't like me for that. So I pulled shocks right when COVID hit, and I said, all right, I'm gonna get out. And then it started getting really bad. That was in that was so 2020. We had just bought our first house, and COVID put me like in this weird bubble because I took it like super serious at first. Like I was buying legit N95 gas masks and even little teeny ones for kids, like the actual around the face, like the not the oh get a diaper and put on your face type of shit, like a real mask. Because I took it because I've Seaburn training, right? Like we take that shit seriously. Like let's not mess around. If this is for real and the whole world's about to shut down, let's be realistic here and actually fight to survive. So I invest a bunch of money in this. I go to the store, I spend $2,000, get a bunch of food, and we sit for 6 months. And it put me in a spiral. I attempted to overdose, and me and the ex-wife had got into a fight, and she took off down the street. I threw a bunch of pills back, a bunch of pain pills. And she turned around like 10 minutes later, I come back. She said, something didn't feel right. So I turned around and came home. And I was on the ground on my way out. Now, the fire chief lives 6 doors down because I lived in a really nice neighborhood on the beach. At this time, I'm working in the car business. Or not yet. I was just about to start the car business, but I just had all that money from GE. So I bought a really nice house and I was going to transition into the car business. And I'd already put a bunch of, what's it called? I had already had one interview. So I was like, cool, I got to keep this lake house. I'll lose it because this stuff's expensive. So, so he comes over and he's still my wife says he's still buttoning up his shirt and he comes in and he's got the radio on and he's like, where's he at? He's like, he's laying on the living room floor. So he runs over to you and he had already had some of that good stuff and he tried to hit you with it and nothing happened. And so we're like, oh man. So the ambulance shows up, the other guys get in and they hit me. They load me up and hit me up with whatever it is that wakes you straight up, that Narcan or whatever. And it sent me right up and I was like fighting 6 dudes and they were like trying to hold me down, I guess, like all this crazy stuff. And she was talking about all this stuff I was saying on the way out, like, oh, you called the cops? Oh, you better, because I smoke pot. She was like, oh, you better hide the pot. They're gonna bring the cavalry now. You better put that pipe away, like joking around and stuff. And so this is just funny stuff I'm saying on my way out, I guess. I don't know. It was tough. And then, things escalated into a more of a disastrous relationship, more toxic as time went on, more kids. She was overbearing, car business, equal time. I come home every night, but I'm not around the kids. So it's just as different. It's no different as me being on the road. So I'm at work 10, 12 hours a day. I leave as soon as the kid gets up. I'm home before while the kids are asleep. So she's drained. Right. So things get out of hand. We start getting toxic. We're separating and she fools around with the neighbor next door and then I lose it. So I end up trying to kill myself again. I end up going up to Waco. So I try to hang myself. Right. This is a few years ago. Right. And so it's been a wild ride, right? And all this stuff is it has a lot to do. And that's when it's kind of more off from everything else. But a lot of it had to do with just the separation of pulling myself away from everything. And the second to the third one, there was a 3-year gap in there. So like nothing had happened for 3.5 years, but whatever happened there, all the emotions from back here still exist. So it compiled itself. And I remember I was sitting there and I'm like, I was a failure Marine. I'm a failure father. I'm a failure this. God doesn't love me. Jesus doesn't love me. If so, why would he put me through this? And I'm starting to curse everything in my life that ever existed. And then I decided to make this noose and they're like, oh, well, whatever case. So they send me up to Waco. I get out of Waco. I come back. After 30 days, they had upped my dose of medication. Mind you, this whole time they had me on a bunch of pills. VA's got me on 13 pills in the morning, 13 pills in the afternoon. 2 of them are head pills, 2 of them are 3 of them are pain pills, 2 of them are mood pills. So it's weird. So there's like a psychological block to try to do with Cymbalta. I can't remember the other one. I've stopped taking all this stuff. I have like legitimate issues with remembering things now because of the amount of damage this stuff has done to me for 6 years straight. So I got rid of all of that. Come July of last year, I decide to detox from everything in my life, right? So I stopped drinking. I stopped taking all of the pharmaceuticals, no vitamins, no extra, no supplements, no nothing, no, absolutely nothing. Just water, vegetable, and meat. I stopped eating processed foods, all of it. And I got on my knees and I remember I was praying. I was like, God, I will be your most humble servant if you just take what I'm doing right here, letting this go, and let that be my burden. And I want to do better from here on out because everything had already happened. My marriage was already falling apart. That already happened. Like I was losing it all. She's already on her way moving out. And I'm like, how do I get through this? Right. And then I started remembering to be resilient. I was like, and like that too, I was like, bro, you're a Marine. Like, hey, get up. Like, no, come on, let's go. Let's get back to it, bro. Let's get right back to this. This is not how we're doing this anymore. Like, get up, wake up, brush your teeth, wash your face, get your ass back in the house and start getting back after it because you got 3 kids you got to take care of regardless of what's about to happen in the next 6 months of your life, which in the next 10 and a half months of my life, I have been blessed beyond belief. There's nothing I can explain now. Like full circle from getting out to now was very painful. And it took 6 years, and I don't say that 6.5 years, so 6 years and 6 months roughly, for me to break the mantra of being stuck in this mental captivity of what the Marine Corps can build as a. And I remember we were talking about this on the spaces a little bit about MK Ultra, right? The mind control factor of it, which I don't want to go too woo woo if that's if that's not what you're about. But for me, it's like the marching, doing something all the time and the exact same thing for years and years and years and years and years, especially when you're doing it in the military and there's all kinds of rules, regulations, and the UCMJ, right? Like the shaving the face, all this stuff. It's whenever it's time for them to tell you what to do, you've been doing what you've been told all this time. There's no question about it. You do it, right? Instant willing obedience to orders.
Yeah, that's
So,
facts.
yeah.
I agree. I'll tell you what, it starts. I remember going to MCRD San Diego as a drill instructor, and I learned real quickly the importance of drill. And what you're talking about is like a battle rhythm, right? A drill. We drill it into you, routine, routine, routine. From the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep, it's muscle memory. Why? Because we as enlisted, we take orders from our superior officers. It's just how it is. They say, we execute. It's like my map. Do this, do that, execute, kill, right? That's what we do. And the only reason we can do that is because we instilled in you from recruit training. And I didn't figure that out. And I wasn't mature enough because I was in the deck plates with the recruits and the Marines. I didn't figure that out till I was transitioning out. I'm like, no, you say drill, but it's not really, marching. Although we do a lot of marching, it's not the reason we do it. The reason we do
Right.
is because we drill it into you that you have to execute accordingly. Brilliance in the basics, a basic Marine. I mean, at this point, I'm thoroughly indoctrinated, right? I'm with you. It's just
Right.
the only thing I do is the only thing I breathe, and not because I'm a robot or anything, but it's because I'm at this point. I love what I do. You don't learn to love it. You're fighting. Like, what is this?
Yes.
When you get to recruit, what is this? Why are they making me do this? Right when I didn't have to do this previous, and I was just fighting the system. That's
I
what
got a
most of us
question
do.
for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do they send you to clown school during drill instructor school? Do they give you like a 1 week of how to be a clown? Because I swear, I remember boot camp all the time. I used to make y'all laugh like it was no one's business all the time. And the very famous, and you know what it is, you can't get caught. So you grab that campaign cover, you roll that down, and you
Yeah.
sit there and you do this number, and you look around, you try to turn around, because you can't get caught, can't break that bearing. But man, it's got to be a
No, I
requirement,
mean,
right?
I'll tell you what. Some of us were pretty good with it, and some of us were just people, man. We're just doing what we got to do to survive. Yeah, I mean, I would say that as I progressed in the roles of drill instructor, as a drill instructor, I progressed in the role.
Is it?
You can laugh a little bit. You
And
can
that's
do
through
this.
the hats, right?
Yeah, as transition the roles. Not everybody's like that, right? Not everybody's trained that way, but at least when I went through, that's how it was. It was like when you first got there, it was just hate them, hate them, hate them, hate them. That's how you're going to get the best discipline. That's how you're going to get the best out of yourself because they're taking your time. That's how it was, right? They take your time from your family. So give them everything you got so they can earn it. And that's how it was for a little bit. And then as I progressed, it was like, it's not that bad as I look back, right? But it was fun. I won't do it again, but it was fun. Let me, let me ask you, Doc. You faced some adversity. You talked about resilient. When you had to been in the deepest hole, right? Deepest hole. It had to get really bad for you. And unfortunately, as you talk about Jesus, you talk about faith. Unfortunately, it takes something like that to reach out to something that's bigger and better than yourself. And you did that. But that's because of your training, brilliance in the basics, resilience. Not everybody's like going to be that way. Not everybody's going to believe the way we do. Provide some insight, a resilience tool for those service members that are struggling right now and that are in that hole or about to take that 30-inch step, maybe like you did.
It is like a march. It's like a
It is a
But
choice.
it feels like a natural choice whenever you're thinking about it. That's the sad part, right? See, I remember I told you I'm an open book. I'll talk about anything. I will talk about anything. So in 2016, before I got transferred over to Max One Det Charlie, I put in a MARSOC package, and I was doing so from the back gate of P or the front gate of P111 to the foothills in Yuma, Arizona is about 7.5 miles. And I was running that in the morning with in full kit. Magazines obviously didn't have ammo, but man, I loaded it with ammo sometimes because by the time I picked up sergeant, I was living out in town, renting a room out from a couple of police department cats that I knew. So I was roommates with YPD. They're really cool. Never got in trouble. So I would every once in a while I'd load them all up in the early morning on the weekend and I'd do that same run. But I got it down to about a competitive 13-minute mile. I'm like, sweet, I'm gonna walk into A&S, no problem. On August 20, I think it was 26th, 2016, my start date was the first week of September. And I was supposed to leave the weekend. If it was a Wednesday, I was supposed to leave that weekend to go to North Carolina to get ready to go to do the A&S. I'm in the gym being a stupid ass. I'm in there hitting 475, trying to do rack pulls because I was trying to increase my deadlift. So I go to the pinch point where you can't get past it, and I pull from there. I was trying to get a max out at 485, and I just couldn't get it. So I was rack pulling 465 and 475. On my last set of six, I was on the fifth set or the fifth rep of that last set, and my my wrist wrap adjusted itself. So I stopped. Oh, you're in a rhythm, right? So I stopped. I broke the whole cadence, the rhythm, the everything. I stopped. I readjusted. I took a breath. I went to pull. Boom! Herniated L5S1, hit the deck, can't walk. End up going out to the ER in Yuma. They end up medevacing me out to Balboa by plane. And I sat in Balboa on like the third or fourth deck for like 3 days. I couldn't walk at all. And then on the third day, I got up and walked out. 3 days, couldn't walk. Biblical kind of like this is where I'm starting to see things in the past where God was always there and he was talking to me and telling me things and I didn't realize what was actually happening. Go get the controller. It's in the box. I told you. You have to get the box down. I promise you it's in there, baby. Go get it. I can't get up and go get it right now. If you go bring me the box, I'll get it for you. Go get it. I was in there for 3 days and I finally got to walk out of there on the third day. And I couldn't move a toe, couldn't move a leg. They were hitting me with the needles from the waist down, felt nothing. I herniated the L5 onto, so S1 is the top of your pelvic bone, the very top part. L5 is your first lumbar. Well, I herniated it to the left and it sucked the sciatic nerve into the right, killed all of the right leg. Well, the swelling hit the other side and I dehydrated both sacs in between that. Later pushed out L4 to the same direction. And I knew that was it. So I hit up the monitor to the guy, said, hey, look, I just injured myself. This is what's going on. I said, I'll send you the medical records as soon as I can. When's the next available one? They told me it wasn't until next year. They only run 2 classes. I was like, F. So I was like, all right, well, let's try to get on the next one. And he said, okay, send me the paperwork. As soon as I got everything, I mailed it off to him. He's like, no, we can't take you. I was like, no. And I think about that day, right? And I go, but if I would have, so this is the adversity part. This is the comeback around. Like, how do you deal with it? And so if you think about how you can lose something that is so near to your heart, like as a Marine, to try and get an opportunity at MARSOC, there's no greater opportunity, there's no greater honor than to go after that. And to even be accepted to go to ANS is half the battle. Really, it's like 25% of the battle. There's a lot in there you got to get through.
Yeah.
I mean, to be accepted is huge, right? So, because you have to get that through all tiers of your MOS gets involved, the monitor, everybody gets involved with it, and your immediate command. And so people can say no, right? They can say, nah, no, we're not sending them. We need them. But they all gave me the green light. Sometimes you have to realize that God is putting you in positions in life to set you up for your future, whether you like it or not, right? Because my entire life, I was always just running away from things to not die pretty much or get sucked into a gang. In the Marine Corps, I was trying to, I remember when I was going through basic electronics course up at Alpha Company, I was like at the Gunny's door, can I go to School of Infantry? I don't want to do this. I want to go to SOI. Can I be infantry? I want to be 0311. I begged all through that. And then in Charlie Company, I begged all through Charlie Company. And every day I would walk in there to the Gunny's office, knock on that hatch. What do you want, Petree? I would like to go to SOI if I can, Gunnery Sergeant. Go away, Petree. All right, Gunnery Sergeant. Walk away, right? Like I just wanted to go and fight. That was the whole reason why I joined to begin with. Whenever the time came for me to have my opportunity, it was taken away. I had to realize that there's something better in plan here for me. There's got to be something else, right? So as I reflect on everything from the past, for everybody who's in right now, if you've got a package in for a B bill that you want to do and it's getting denied, and it could be something as simple as you want to go be a drill instructor, but they need a recruiter. Go do recruiting, man. You might meet the love of your life if you're a single dude. You never know. You be go getting coffee one day, walking to Starbucks or Black Rifle Coffee. I'd prefer over Starbucks for all you vets. Not a handout, but I think their stuff's better anyways. But if you go out to get a coffee, you might find the love of your life. You'd have no idea where they're going to put you in what city, what state you never know what you might do. Or maybe, you need to be a drill instructor, but they want you to go and you want to be a recruiter. Just go train some Marines, make some Marines, man. There's a path for all of us, and we need to sometimes we got to stop fighting it, because I spent my entire life fighting my path. and which way I was gonna go, because I was like, you know what, I'm not gonna have no, especially when I got out, because I was like, I'm not gonna have nobody tell me what to do anymore. Like, I'm in control. Once I figured out that I was in control, and I was like, all right, you know what, this is my horse. I'm gonna ride it the way I want to. You know, JG Wentworth, my money. I want it when I want it. So I started losing, loss after loss after loss after loss after loss. I ended up losing all my money. I lost everything. My wife, the house, the big houses I had, all of it just gone, lost it, because I stopped chasing purpose. I started chasing money. I started chasing wealth. I started chasing what I wanted to do versus what I knew God was trying to show me. So he let me do what I was going to do. And he said, look, now you're going to lose everything. Check it out. You're no different from Job now, man. You've got nothing. But if you embrace this nothing and carry your cross, I will give you tenfold back. So I'm embracing my cross right now. This is where I'm at in my life. Like, if you could put me anywhere in the Bible, I'm in the back end of Job. I'm just trying to hoping that that comes back, right? But fight, okay? There's a reason why you joined the Marine Corps. Don't let that be the reason why you give up because you don't attain it, or whatever your long term is goal. If you've just reenlisted and you're like, man, I don't know about these next 4 or 5 years. What did I do? Why did you reenlist? What was that deciding factor? Embrace it. Fight for it. I saw way too many Marines give up I never let anyone give up. Once I picked up corporal, nobody ever gave up when I was, and I made sure that I took I'll never forget him, Alex Cutler. I just got to H&HS. He was a lance corporal. I was a corporal. I just got out of the schoolhouse, and he was a 6'2", tubby, kind of hefty, corn-fed dude. And he's a big boy, but he had a hard time with taping and staying in weight and stuff. And he said, well, I go to the gym and I work out, but I just don't understand. Like, I'm not losing any weight. But he's in there hitting it heavy. I'm like, no, dude, you need to be doing like 18, 20 reps a set, brother. Like, we need to drop that weight down like 70% and let's just get after it. So then we started implementing HIIT type exercises in between going to the gym, hitting 16, 18, 20, 22 rep sets. And he started shedding the weight, and I started getting him book savvy, and then he got book savvy. And then he ended up becoming a staff sergeant before he got out. He passed me, you know. If I didn't get in his ass, because I had to threaten him a couple of times with like, look, dude, you're going to make me tie my hands behind my back. And I'm going to have to do things like this. Is when I was a sergeant at this point. I was like, you're going to make me do things I don't want to do. I like you as an individual. You got a lot of heart. You're smart as in this MOS. You need to stay, but you need to also be a Marine, man. Like, come on, let's get after it. Like, that mentality doesn't work anymore. It doesn't work no more. It used to work 10, 15 years ago. You know, if you're really good, really smart at your job, they kept you around. And they started being like, look, man, we need that Marine mentality back, right? After the 202K plus up disappeared, and we smashed that fast, real quick. 202, that was when me and you came in, was during that. You were on the back end of that. When I came in, I was like right at the heat of it in 2009, March. It was 202K plus up was at it, bro. They were just, give me everybody. And I watched a lot of those everybody's get filtered out while I was going through my first 4 years. But yeah, just don't give up the fight, man. There's a purpose. Fight for it. It just remember what it was. And if you can't remember, find a new purpose immediately. I I don't even care if it's to buy a house, to pick up the next rank. Just lock in, zone in, and focus, and just fight until you get it. Because it's just as easy as what that one Navy cat said, right, on that big video. Get up in the morning and make your bed is the first step to success. Find it and fight for it.
That's good, man. I appreciate that. If it's purpose you're looking for, look for it. As an individual, even if you're transitioning or staying in, you got to fight for it, man. You just can't give up. That's not what Marines do, especially they adapt and overcome. It's insane. It's the reason why we say it. So I'm glad that you adapted. You overcame. You're here now with 3 children. Because if you didn't, I wouldn't be interviewing you, man. You wouldn't be here.
Facts. Big facts.
Where can they reach you if they want to know more about you?
You guys can find me on Instagram, Sergeant Petree, SGT, just as my last name is spelled up on the screen if it shows it when we get it aired. Or you can find me on X at Sergeant Petree. Same thing, SGT. Come holler at me. I'm always down to talk. You can find me in spaces blasting the left liberals, so I'll leave it at that.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Pit Talk, Full of Pits in your opinions with your host, Gunny G, Sergeant Petree, where service members help service members, period. Follow, like, subscribe, everywhere you get your podcast and on most social media platforms. Let us know how we're doing. Any criticism is good criticism. Ladies and gentlemen, me and Sergeant Petree, we out. I'll hit you up later.
Semper Fi.
Appreciate you.
All day.
Stand by, contact. podcast featuring active service members to discuss their thoughts and opinions on various issues surrounding military life, current events, and history. The statements heard here are the opinions of its members and guests. These do not necessarily reflect the views of the Department of Defense and are not endorsed or sponsored in any way. Listener, viewer discretion advised.